Hello, mapper audio log to work out how I am going to count currency in Death Warrior, the map. Okay, let's think. I have the idea that I'm going to. What am I going to do? Let me think. I mean, I already know, I'm just trying to remember. I have the idea that I am going to use precise voodoo gates and calculations in order. I'm going to use precise voodoo gating calculations in order to basically like throw voodoo dolls through teleporters into different parts of like this one big closet. Like let's start with the basics. I'm gonna refer to the currency as gold for simplicity, and we're going to count up to 99. We're going to count up to 99 gold maximum in the map. And every enemy's got to drop from like 1 to 10 gold, and there might be other ways you can get gold or whatever. But I need ways to count up, and I need ways to count up the amount of gold, count down the amount of gold we have, both conditionally, and I need a way for things that consume gold to understand the amount of gold that the player has. So how to do that? Well, I have this idea that I'm going to put a bunch of voodoo. I'm going to put one voodoo doll in, say, like, I don't know, a 10 by 10 closet. Well, not 10 by 10 closet, like one big closet, and it'll have like these 100 or 99 rather nodules in it, or modules. It'll have like 99 modules in it. And these modules can teleport, and these modules will have a gate in front of and behind the voodoo doll, and the voodoo doll can teleport backwards to get into a previous one and forwards to get into the next one. And the what the and I think this is good. I think this is good because there's not really going to be a whole lot of different values that there's not really going to be a whole lot of different values that gold possibly can be obtained and reduced by. Like, there's going to be the monsters, but they probably won't drop more than like 15. So, like, okay, 115 bonus. And then that'll probably cover like all the gold that you also get from like NPCs if I go that route. And reducing it will be also easy because it will just be like fixed prices. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll have all of them be like multiples of 5, just so I can just say, okay, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then I can just reduce the amount. And I can just and I can just make the closets for very set amounts. And I can just reduce the closets for those set amounts, and it'll be reduced. The way, okay, here's the complex part. I want to decide how to conditionally change. I want to decide how to actually change the map based on the amount of money we have. I had an idea earlier that was like maybe each individual value has like maybe there's like a bunch of voodoo closets on the side. Maybe there's a bunch of voodoo closets on the side, and these give like every value for every thing. Like maybe like you have like 5 gold. Oh, you can do this. You have 5 gold, you can do this. Like, and they'll just be like these tiny closets. Like maybe have labels on them, like 5, 10, 15, 20. Maybe they have labels on them. At each part where the amount of currency can change like meaningfully with your, because okay, let's remember something. If I decide to reduce the currency, if I decide to make everything that costs gold only ever a multiple of 5, then that means for the closets where I have to decide what changes depending on the amount of gold you have, I only have to do that in multiples of 5. Right? Because the amount of currency you have can only matter in the context of the map based and it can only matter in the context of the map based on how it's reduced. more or less. I think that's good. I think that's good. I'm trying to like think of like any problems with that. What could be an issue with that? What could be an issue with that? Let's see. 5, 10, 15. Okay, one issue is it is okay. Okay, let's approach this from all angles. Just let's really analyze. Give myself the most flexibility possible. Let's let's analyze all the issues here. Okay, one problem is it is restrictive. It does mean that if I do this sort of omni closet design, it does mean that I if I do the omni closet design, it does mean I am restricted. It means I am restricted to only multiples of 5. What else does it mean? It also means, okay, this design is also slow. This design is also actually pretty slow. This design is slow, and that is a problem because maybe the player wants to buy items in bulk. I wonder if I can make the player buy things in bulk, like there, and then that would work because multiples of 5, like, of course, like, if you multiply a multiple of 5, the result is still a multiple of 5. You know? So I could probably make the player just allow the player to buy things in bulk because the problem with this method is it's slow. I there's probably ways to speed it up. I probably can. Okay, let's think. I probably can reduce. I probably can reduce the distance between the teleporters. So if you're imagining this, like big box, 100 like modules for each place the voodoo can be in. I can make it like just absolutely minimal delay. I can make just absolutely minimal delay where it's like the teleporters are like right next to the voodoo doll and it's just like teleporting the or something like that. It's just like instantly teleporting between them. The problem with this though is that it is going to be really really precise and really really annoying to like exactly work out the like how it is going to be really annoying to actually work out the specific amount of time that a floor should be scrolling. That's how I'm going to if there wasn't I forgot to say if it wasn't implied, that's how I'm going to more or less like that's how I'm going to oh, I've been talking to myself. There was one in the audience. Hi Tsunami. I've been talking to myself. I just feel free to comment if you have an idea of what I'm talking about. XT. Okay, let's think. What was I doing? I was saying that it might be annoying for the tick. It might be annoying for the ticks if I really made it really precise. I think I should make it really precise because it wouldn't really be that annoying past the first like thing that I figured out. It can just be multiplied from there mostly. The tick value can just be multiplied from there. Like I say, like let's just for example, let's say it takes because of course the way I'm going to do this as well because I want the floor to scroll multiple directions. I'm going to do it with one of the boomline desks that lets you scroll the floor based on the sector height. I think I need to actually check how the sector height speed works. I need to check how that works because I imagine that if I reduce it by 35 and like immediately, then it would just be 35 map units a second. And we want 35 map units a second because that means I can control it like down to the tick, which I'm gonna need if I really want to make this like calculator like really, really, really precise. What I'm gonna want for that. I could just literally like go in the map and just measure this stuff, like actually count the ticks that it takes for this stuff to happen, and then design around that. Oh, calculating this stuff like specifically is going to be like annoying because if because it could cause. Thankfully, okay, thankfully this is not a particularly long problem in the sense that once I solve it once, it's not really gonna fuck me over in the future. In theory, like it will either completely work or it completely won't, which is good, because I'd rather actually know if there is a problem than not know, and only find out like when, I don't know, an addition is completely wrong, and I'm just like, oh fuck. I think. Okay, so I was reviewing the idea of what if I don't want to make all the costs multiples of 5. I was reviewing that idea. What if I don't want to do that? Let's think. Let's think. I could. Okay, I could put the line defs to. I could put the line defs to actually change the map based on the amount of money you have in the calculator itself. And I could subtract it at the same time. And I could remove it at the same time because I just have like, oh, the line def for if you have enough golds to buy this thing is here, and the line def for if you don't is like right behind it if you go under that. That's really good. That's really, really good. I should draw that in a bit. That's really, really good. I'm glad I'm recording this. That's really good. Yes. So let's say there's a big closet with 100 modules, and there are 2 rows of line defs in front of and behind the voodoo doll, and there are gates. No, not gates. Let's not say gates. Gates complicated. Let's just say the floor scrolls. Let's just say the floor scrolls because of momentum. Okay, let's say there's gates and the floor scrolls. Yeah, the gate opens and the floor scrolls in one direction for a set period of time if there is an addition, and it goes back if there is a subtraction. And you get additions based on killing monsters, getting money from wherever, and you get subtractions from purchasing things with the money. And then there's 2 rows of line defs. Well, there probably will be 1 row of line def. There probably will just be one. There'll probably just be 1 row of line def on each side, but for some of them there'll be 2. And these line defs, there might be a lot of them on the first row closer to the voodoo doll on both sides, and then 1 on the second row. And the first one might have like a whole bunch of different conditions, like a ton of different conditions for just what you can do with that amount of money. There. I think that's good because I think that's like easier to work with. I think that's easier to like work with. It's easier to edit in the future. It's easier to edit in the future than just having everything be multiples of 5 and then that being the excuse for. Because in theory, if I did just make everything multiples of 5, then I would still be putting line defs inside the big machine counter thing, the big calculator. I would just still be putting line defs in the calculator, so it would be best to skip the middleman here and go straight for just having the actual impacts on the map be in the calculator. That's easily editable. That is, stuff can easily be changed. Stuff can very easily be changed. I can so easily change values. I can just so easily change the value of how much something actually costs. Okay. Let me try. Okay, let's think about this again, and let's try to find flaws in this idea. What are the flaws in this idea? Let's consider this. It goes up and it's a number, and it goes up and it goes down, and it goes for the different modules. Let's think. Let's think about the limit. Let's think about the upper limit. The upper limit of 99, also high Ivy. Let's think about the upper limit of 99. I don't think that's a problem. I don't think that would in theory be a problem because I'll just have a gate that just never opens. Like a gate just never opens. I'll just have a wall there. I'll just have a wall there and it just won't ever go up. It won't ever open. And it can just only descend from there. Let's think about the line def count of this as well. Let's do some guesstimating. Okay, so the closet. The closet itself, it'll be a big square, naturally. And so, okay, 4 line defs to the walls, and let's say Um, 200 line defs for the teleporters that take you from one of the numbers to the other. Let's say 200 line defs for that. And then let's also add on, say, how many line? How many? I'm going to try and guesstimate how many like things I want to be purchasable in the entire game, because that's going to be 2 line defs each. One to activate the thing and one to deactivate it. Oh, there's going to be the gates as well. There's going to be the gates as well. 2 gates on for every single number, which will be 6 line defs per number. So that's 600. So that is 900. No, it's about 800. Yeah, about 800 line defs total so far. And let's say I'm gonna have 3 towns. Let's say there's a shop. Let's say there's a shop in all of those. Let's say that shop sells 6 items. I think that's a reasonable guess. Let's say the shop sells 6 items. Let's say there is a no. There's gonna be 4 towns because I'm forgetting about the. Let's say 5. Let's say 5 because I'm forgetting about the castle at the start of the game and the first town. Okay, let's say there's 5, and let's say they're all selling 6 items. Guesstimate. That's 30 items sold total. It doesn't really the what they cost doesn't matter. What they cost doesn't matter because what am I thinking? What it costs doesn't matter because I'm gonna have line defs for each of them individually anyway. I could probably if line def optimizations get like really like tricky, I could do like the Omni Closet design where I just like say okay, everything that costs this amount is activated by this line def. I could easily do that. Actually, wait, no, maybe I could just do that in general. Maybe I don't need to do no, because that is not edited. Wait, maybe hang on. Is that edited? Is that easily adjustable? If I do have just everything filtered through one line def, just for order prices. Let me think. Let's weigh the pros and cons of this. Okay, pros. Cuts down on line count. Like, dramatically. I think I could do that. I think I could do that. I think that's actually a good idea. That's actually a good idea. I think I should actually just make everything filter through all the stuff that costs the same will filter through one line def. But I don't need to make it multiples of 5 either, because then in theory, like, of course, okay, let's also discuss the way I'm actually going to be making. Let's also discuss how I'm actually going to be making the purchase system work. There's going to be I'm going to be using these like multiple destination teleporters for the dialogue boxes where they're like if you don't have enough money they're like can't buy that mate, or you do have enough money and they're like yeah, here you go. I'm gonna have 2 teleports for that, and then of course if you don't have the money it doesn't do anything, and if you do have the money it like reduces by the amount of the cost of the thing. So that's how I'm going to do that, and of course that's really easy to change. That's really easy to change because it's only based on what direction a certain scrolling floor is in. And in theory I can save on a lot of like line defs and scrolling floors if I say, okay, the player has 5 gold. The player has 5 gold. They can afford every item that costs 5 gold. Though of course, okay, but the con of this is I don't really know how I'm going to go about. I don't really know how I'm going to go about editing prices in the future if I do this system and I want to change something. How would I do that? Well, okay, let's review from an individual item perspective. Let's say there's like a torch. Not that I would put a. I don't even know how I put a torch. Let's say there's a torch that costs 5 gold in the first town. Let's say it is you can buy the torch if the line def for having 5 gold is crossed. And we can change that by just changing the tag of the scrolling floor. Well, we'd have to teleport to a different scrolling floor. We'd have to make a new one. We'd have to make a new scrolling floor. We have to make a new scrolling floor for every item because I don't have to, like, for every shop because... Oh, and I'm getting ahead of myself. Doesn't matter. Yeah. We'd have to scrolling floor. We'd have to make another line def in the calculator, and it would be for, let's say I want to change it to 6. We have to make another we have to make another line def in the calculator, and it would be at 6. It would be on the 6. It would be for number 6, where the line def for number 5 is it does all the number 5, does all the stuff that costs 5 gold. I'd have a line def there, and then I would have another line def in the. I would have another line def in. No, I'm not having another line def. I'm making another scrolling floor. I'm having another scrolling floor in the place you teleport to when you are buying the item. When you're buying the item, you go to a different scrolling floor, and that one changes based on the condition if you have 6, because you've already set up the different line def in the calculator. That's pretty good. That's pretty damn good, I think. I'm so fucking good at this. I'm so good at this. I'm so good at this. Okay, let's review issues. Adding, yeah, I've already been over adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting, I think, is solid and fine. Issues of this. What are the issues? This is helpful. This is actually really good for me. I'm getting through voodoo problem solving like a lot faster when I do typing lessons. Let's think. Addition is fine. Okay. Let's do a check. Let's check every interaction that the player can have with currency. It can be you can get more, which is easy. We just have a bunch of timed closets that just say make the player teleport in, scroll the calculator for this long until you get to this value. Here's an idea. What if I use the gates to skip the annoyance of having to solve the specific tick amount? I could use it, like I could say, oh, this would take a lot of tags and a lot of lines, and it might be over-engineered. Okay, I'm ditching this idea. This is over-engineered. Maybe I'll do it later. This is over-engineered right now. That's over-engineered. Okay, so yeah, let's go. Okay, back to the start. Let's review the interactions the player can have with money. They can get more and they can get less. They can have. It can be added to. It can be subtracted to with specific timed closets, which shouldn't be hard to do and should be consistent to make, consistent to do everything. It doesn't involve joint sector shenanigans. It's just timing, which is something that fundamentally just never changes unless you just completely fuck something up. Adding and subtracting is fine. What if the player buys an item? If the player wants to buy an item, they are teleported into a multi-destination teleporter that, based on if the player has crossed certain line defs in the calculator, decides if the player can purchase the item. If the player cannot purchase the item, nothing happens. If the player can purchase the item, we subtract by the item's cost. If the player has 99... If the player has 99 gold, the maximum amount, there will just be no way for it to increase. It will still say the player is getting gold, but it just will not increase at all, and it'll be stuck at 99. How am I going to display this? Well, I already have a 7-segment display. I could... Okay, for displaying, I could make like a third row of line defs. I could make like a third row of line defs for just like... Yeah, that's... Oh, no, that'd be annoying. No, that'd be... I don't know, I couldn't make a third row of line defs in the calculator. That'd be... Ooh. Okay. Okay, wait, how to display this? Because I need the player to know how much money they have. Um, I already have like a way to display. I already know how to display numbers. I have the 7-second display that I stole from some Sapien tech. Um, but the question is how to like actively update that in a way that does not cause like 10 billion line deaths to just completely fly everywhere. Okay, okay. Let's say there's 4 rows of line deaths on either side of the voodoo in the calculator. And let's say two of those, one of those is to teleport, one of those is to have any kind of effect on the map. And the third and fourth are to change the value, and the third and fourth are to change the values that are displayed. Directly in the calculator. Professor, are you sharing screen? I'm not sharing screen. Maybe I could share a spread to kind of draw what I'm thinking. Maybe. Let me know. I I could Okay, what I could do is I could no wait, no wait, let's hang on, let's be smart about no, because if I did that, oh, if I did that, that'd be terrible. That'd be like 28. That'd be like a 5,000 line def hit. That'd be like a 5,000 line def hit if I actually did that idea. If I have 4 rows. Okay, screw the 4 rows of line defs idea. That's terrible. I'm not taking like a 5,600 line def hit, give or take. That is really bad. So okay, just okay. Let's keep it simple. Let's just say that the line def that changes actions in the map will also activate a series of. It will also activate a series of. It will also activate a series of closets. It will activate a series of closets that will change a 7-segment display on the ground. It will change the parts of the segments of the display to be black or white based on the amount. But of course, the closet moves super fast, and I imagine those won't move fast. So I wonder if there's any like implications with like. I wonder if there's any implications with like the line that's being slow. Can the line defs be can the 7-segment display segment 7-segment display closets, can they be too slow? And can it be problematic if they're slow? It shouldn't be problematic if they're slow, because in theory, in actually wait, I need to think about line def counts. I don't know if this is actually I don't know if it's actually fixing it. Wait, no, maybe it is because no, it is. It is. This is good. This is good. This is a good line of count because I can make it so that all of the I don't make it so every single value that's possible changes the count with its own line defs. I just make line defs for 0 through 9 twice for the different tags. And then that gets fed into the 7-segment display things. What if I could set up a way where the 7-segment display only changes when the voodoo doll is in a specific value, because it's going to pass over like all the values. Now maybe it's over engineer because I don't even know how I'm going to do that, how I would do that. let's just say it's not problematic. Let's say it's not problematic that the that the 7-segment displays can be too slow. Because yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's fine because I would be making all the ones that aren't supposed to be turned on turned off on every change. So I mean, it might look a bit garbled for a bit, but I mean, it would look good. It would look fine. Okay, okay, that's how to display it. Okay, that's another floor down. Let's consider a few more. Let's see if there's anything. What else can I think if there's a problem out of this? Player attains money and loses money in a bunch of different ways. Actually, what if the player loses? No, actually, that's not an interesting question. I was gonna say, what if the player loses money while they don't have as much money as they're taking? But that's not hard because of course it can't go below zero, and it won't go below zero. The amount of money you can have won't go below zero, so it will just be a bit. It will be fine. It will just be zero. It will say stole 5 gold even if you only have 3, but you'll just be on 0. I can't really be bothered to actually like change the values based on how much money the whatever you're actually gaining or losing specifically, because that sounds like way too much effort for like just like a few edge cases. That is way too much effort for a few edge cases and would be really line def expensive and really 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 annoying. Just really annoying. Just terrifically annoying. Very very annoying. Okay. What are the problems with this? Again. Yes, we have established that the player can gain and remove money, and there is no, and I don't believe there are any problems with that. I can't identify any anyway. Display is done. Display is done. I think that's good. I think that's all the problems. I think that's how I'm gonna do it. Of course, I'm scared. I'm scared to say I'm done because I feel like if I say I'm done, I'm gonna immediately think of something. So I'm just really, really making sure that I don't have any like I'm not thinking of anything. Calculator's good. The counting is good. The display is good. I think it needs to do anything else. And I think that is actually everything. I think that is actually everything I was trying to figure out. And I've recorded this, so I can refer back to it. I spent 30 minutes talking about this. I spent 30 minutes talking about this. Jeez. Okay, well, I think I've got it figured out. If I don't, I don't know if you got anything out of this experience, but I was correct in thinking that physically talking would be a good way to deal with these technical problems because I can just act because words are faster than writing. Speaking, I mean, thoughts are faster than words, but you know. Literally rubber duck debugging. I don't know what that is. I'm going to look that up. A technique in software engineering where a program explains their code step by step in natural language. I see a rubber duck in use. Right. Thank you for being my rubber ducks. If I have like a really complex voodoo problem in this map again, which I might because I don't entirely know how I'm going to. Actually, that's kind of like a big problem. I just solved like a really big problem. There might be there could be other stuff that I want to talk about, and, like try and figure out. That's really big though. I'm glad I have in recording. I have in recording audio recording a way to all of my problems for the all of my problems with the currency solves. I think I'm done here. Goodbye.